You taking the first 3 units?
Yes.
And you probably didn't get the calendar either. Okay, let's get started. This is going to be a very exciting day because this is called Project Pitch Day. So this is for students who are working on projects for 3 units. This is very relevant to you. So today we honor Elvis Presley, his 80th birthday. So take a moment and reflect about Elvis, how Elvis affected your life. So for people who haven't already enrolled on Access, please do that. So I know that you know how many people we have. And if you missed Tuesday, please talk to me afterwards. So today's handout, you want to remember every student, every class signs the pink sheet. If you haven't done it yet, you can do it later. And for students who are working on team projects for 3 units and you haven't gotten this handout, let me know, raise your hand. Okay, that's good. This is what the handout looks like. I'll get into that a little bit later. Here's the enrollment form. If you missed Tuesday's lecture, again, talk to me. To make it up, you would write a 1 to 2 page summary and look at the video and slides, and also include in your summary discuss an item that you saw or heard or learned about that was new, surprising, or or provided you with a new perspective. So if you missed Tuesday's class and you're working on a team project, I have handouts for the project description and the assignment. So see me after class for those as well. This is what the team project form looks like. You can refer to that during these presentations. These project pitch presentations are in order here. For your convenience. Okay, and here's the assignment that you'll be referring to so that you know what to do for the midterm assignment. So I'm going to introduce some people. We're going to learn about the PRL. We're going to look at considerations for forming teams. I have a magic wand that will help in that effort as well. We're going to have a bunch of very short, concise project pitches. And then there'll be time at the end for students who are working on projects to come up and talk to the people who have pitched the project. So this is time to get some more information about the project and perhaps to meet up with other people, other students who might be a part of your team. Okay, so this might go over, and I apologize for all the projects, all the great projects we have, but if you can stay a little bit later and talk to people, that would be great. So first I want to introduce some course resource people. These are people who I know personally, and they're here for you to help you with your projects. Debbie Kenny is right over here, and Gary Burke is sitting up here. Debbie is an occupational therapist, and Gary is a prosthetist, orthotist, and a couple other people that aren't here. Doug Schwant, a Stanford grad in mechanical engineering, and Jules Sherman, product design graduate, also from Stanford. So they're a part of your team. So talk to them, get some valuable information on how to proceed with your project. The Product Realization Lab is an excellent resource on campus, and these are the principals, Craig, Marlowe's in the back, and Carly, who we'll hear from very shortly. So with the PRL, there are 20 TAs, and these guys can also help you with your project. So you have a lot of people on your project that you can that can help you, that can assist you And Cindy and Will took this class, so they're familiar with what's going on. So this is an awesome Stanford resource that you will be taking advantage of. So Carly is going to lead it off with a 5-minute overview of the PRL. Advancement.
Hello. Maybe this will be shorter than 5 minutes. My name is Carly, and for those of you who are unfamiliar with the PRL, it's the Product Realization Lab. The main lab is just about a block in that direction, and it's this huge place where you can basically build anything that you can dream of. So we have a ton of equipment up there, including very heavy-duty machinery. There's a wood lab and a welding lab, and pretty much anything and everything you could ever possibly need. Show of hands, who's familiar with the Product Realization Lab? Excellent. Okay, so most of you know. So I am down in room 36, which is vaguely in that direction. It's in the Huang building, and it is designed, well, that is what I am here to talk about. So the purpose of room 36 is to make it as easy as possible to make things. All you've got to do is show up. We've got materials, we've got resources, we have pretty much anything you could possibly need to show up with an idea and leave with something that's actually physical and real. So our resources, we have an amazing, as David just showed, that entire array of teaching assistants. They're all there for you. If you have any questions at all, that is what they're there for. They love to help you. So don't think of any question that you have as being dumb. That is what they're there for. Their job is to help you get something from here into something that's physical. We have an incredible variety of tools. Laser cutters are used a ton. A lot of these tools that we've got in room 36 are things that you can show up with a digital file and then press go, and then you will have something that's physical. It's pretty awesome, very easy to learn how to use. Again, the teaching assistants are a great resource for you to learn how to use all of these tools. If you're unfamiliar with anything, just show up. Earlier in the quarter is better because that's when people haven't really quite started hounding the teaching assistants yet. So like this week, for example, is a great time to show up and just get acquainted with the different things you might want to use for your projects. The nice thing about room 36 is that we have a lot of materials that you can purchase. It's like we're not trying to make a profit on them, so they're just sold at cost, but it's just very convenient for you to just show up and not have to bring your own materials in. There's a list of things that we provide online, prl.stanford.edu in the resources section. It'll give you a good overview of the kinds of things that we've got there. Another nice thing about room 36 is that you can claim a project bin. So there are a lot of bins that are for use in there. So if you find an unused one, and then you don't have to schlep your stuff back and forth to your apartment. And the location, if my sort of vague pointing wasn't good enough for you. We were approximately here. Room 36 is up there. And I hope that I will see some, if not all of you, down there this quarter. I think that's... Oh, getting started. Yes, this is important. So before you can get started in the Product Realization Lab, you must take a safety orientation. It's approximately 90 minutes. Log on to WebShop. I'm sure there's a pointer on this somewhere, but the thing in the middle. Ah, there we go. Yes. Webshop.stanford.edu. Sign up for a safety orientation. You just walk through, get oriented with all the different things that are in the lab. Then you'll need to buy a lab pass. So just a 1/4 pass is just $60. Totally worth it. You'll get a ton of use out of it, so highly recommend it. And then show up. That's kind of the hardest thing, showing up. So, and then talk to a TA about your project. Seriously, just come. It's awesome. So I think that's...
I have a question.
Yes.
If I'm not an engineer and haven't done any application work, give me something that will give me confidence in working on a project.
Yeah, so if you can use a computer, you can make things in the Product Realization Lab. So there's, as I mentioned before, a lot of our equipment, all you've got to do is show up with a digital file. And again, if you're unfamiliar with some of the software, a lot of the things run on Adobe Illustrator. So Adobe Illustrator is very simple to use once you've got the hang of it, and a teaching assistant will be able to help you. And we've got the software in the lab. And literally you just hit go. So there's really no excuse for not making things. does that help? But yes, this is definitely not limited to engineers at all. Engineers do not have sort of magical skills that the rest of the population does not. So please come, engineer or not, make things.
So here's how it's going to work today. I hope you have all read the project descriptions that I handed out on Tuesday. You're going to be filling out these preference forms. If there's a student that is working on a team project that hasn't got one of these forms, raise your hand now. Pass these around to the people who need them. So, okay. Be sure to hand in your preferences form. I will take that information and post all your preferences online on the course website. So this is a way for you to figure out who else is interested in the projects that you're interested in, and this will help form teams. So in a week's time, by next Friday, I want to have all the teams formed and the projects selected. And you need to send me the name of your team, the members of your team, so name your team, select your project, and send me the members list. So here are some considerations. Of course, everybody on the team should have a desire to work on the same project. I don't think it matters if you're an undergrad or grad. I think, you can have a team of mixed students that'll work out fine. You don't have to work on a project next quarter. Working on it just this quarter is sufficient, so you're not obligated in any way to continue working on your project next quarter. You really need to match your team skills with the expertise you would need to complete the project. There needs to be a compatible mix of personalities, and this is always sort of hard to do because you may not know right off the bat if you're going to work out well. If you are working on in another course that is a project course, it may not be advisable for you to work on two project courses at the same time. I've seen this happen before, and your efforts on both projects will not be sufficient. Because there just isn't enough time for you to do justice to two projects, two big projects. So if you're in that situation, I would really strongly consider holding off on the project aspect of this course until next year. Okay? There is no guarantee that other students will have the same interest of you, so you need to be prepared to work on another project that other people are interested in, or convince others to work on the project that you like. You can even work on a project as a team of one. There's actually some advantages of having smaller teams because you can arrange a meeting with yourself at any time. The more people you have, the harder it's going to be to arrange a common meeting time. So you might think that a team of 3 is going to be the best thing, but it's often hard to find a common time to meet. So this has happened before. And if there's a project you really want to work on and nobody else is working on it, you can work on it by yourself. But remember, you have other people on your team. I am on every team. The 4 resource people are on your team. The 20 TAs are on your team. So you have 25 people on your team just starting off. Okay? Keep an open mind in this. For individuals that are here working on individual projects, you can watch the pitches, but they're not going to be of interest to you because you're not going to be working on those. You have your own set of projects. You meet with me to discuss which project you want to work on, and we'll agree to how that will be done. So here's a list of all the projects, and so we're going to go through all these today. And there's some others that I'm going to pitch for other people, and there's some projects that I have as well. So here's the form that you're going to be using as the projects are pitched. Whoops. Okay. So in the first three columns, there's a smiley face, and a frowny face. So as the project is pitched, you might want to check one of those columns so that after all the projects have been pitched, you can go back and rate your top 5 projects. That's what I really want to get, your top 5. And I will put this on the website. So in thinking about a project, you may want to get further information from the person who suggested it, or email the person later on, or talk to them after class. You want to review other students' preferences and contact other students to form teams. And you want to email me your teams by a week from Friday. And you really need to hit the ground running. The first couple weeks are very important. A lot of classes have told me, students have told me, gee, I wish I would have started earlier, or wish I would have gotten more done earlier. So don't make the same mistake that other students have done. You want to start early. If you're unsure of what exactly to do, talk to me. I'm maybe your supervisor or project manager or boss or whatever. I'm on your side. I want you to do the best you can. So please talk to me. If you get stuck, have any questions at all, email me, whatever. I'm here for you. So we're going to start off with Patricia. Okay, 3 minutes.
So how many of you have elder relatives who have dementia? I deal with dementia on a daily basis, and music is so very, very important. So today we have 10,000 baby boomers ready to retire. This is going to happen day after day, month after month, and year after year until 2030. It's the greatest demographic tsunami in the history of the world. So even though I'm talking about one individual, whatever you create will help thousands. Just remember that. No one wants to end up alone and isolated in a nursing home. It's hard enough to lose someone you love to Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. It's terrifying to think that myself, you, somebody you know, ends up in that situation. Ongoing research and evaluation of music and memory work in the elder care facilities has shown that residents are much happier and more social. They have better relationships with their staff, with their relatives, with other residents. Everyone benefits because they're calmer and there's a more supportive social environment. And I see we're learning early here. And staff regain valuable time previously lost to behavior management. And there's growing evidence that when you do a music program or have music in your life, there's less need for psychotic medications. So here I am today with Mrs. N. She's an 86-year-old, lives in a dementia facility, but lives for her music. She is a devout opera fan. She has 25 boxes of CDs, DVDs, and VHSs, which she is having problems listening to. And why? It's because now she cannot manage the DVD. She lives in the past. She remembers this wonderful thing that you turn on with a knob. She can do the knob thing, as we know, because David and I talked to her about that. And due to her slowly cognitive issues and her mobility and a number of other things, she's not now able to attend the opera like she used. She has care, but they're not with her all the time. And she just wants to have music playing all day. She remembers her old radio, and she thinks she could easily use this. So I want you to think, when you're creating something, of the past and what she will remember as the past, because she doesn't remember anything of today. And just remember that she's not the only one. So whatever you create is terribly important to every elderly individual. They love their music, whether it's Glenn Miller or whoever. When we get to that age, and I'm slowly getting to that point, I will want to have my music. I think you can't do anything better. Thank you for listening.
Molly, you're next. You want me to do the slides for you?
Yeah, I think you're going to need to do the slides for me, and so I'm going to have to cue you on the slides. Okay, well, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm Molly, and when I broke my neck and was dealing with quadriplegia and the prognosis of no movement past my shoulders for life, I started looking for other outside-the-box rehab possibilities. And that brought me to hippotherapy. Now, next slide, of course. We're talking this horse. And there's something wonderful about the outside of a horse that's great for the inside of a human being. And next.
Wait.
Oh.
I need more hands.
Okay. So hippotherapy. It's using a horse to maximize the potential of a human being who's on this horse. And it's used for people with cerebral palsy, in my case spinal cord injury, stroke, post-traumatic stress, post-polio, Asperger's syndrome. And what it does is it gives this kind of proprioceptive input to the body, stimulating the pelvic floor, the inside of the thighs, the core muscles. And when I mentor people and I suggest, well, go find a horse, most communities don't have this kind of program. And if they do, it's often very expensive. So I've been looking for a horse for the living room. Now, David Jaffe suggested the next one, which I thought was a little bit intense. And so I looked for something a little calmer, looking back into my childhood. And what I use presently in home is one of these peanut ball shaped physio balls. Now this has really been great for me, but if you have a physicality that's compromised, oftentimes what you end up with is this. So I've been looking for something that can create stability. And so if you were to choose to throw down on this project, you would be creating a horse for someone's home. And this horse would need to be stable. It would need to be easy to get onto and off of, not necessarily independently. The surface that you're sitting on needs to be comforting and comfortable. And it needs to have that movement of the horse. You know, when a horse moves, it goes back and forth, it goes side to side, it goes up and down, and it also moves diagonally. And these are wonderful for the healing of the body. And so, also in the design, nothing could be causing any new injury. And it also, ideally, can be stored easily and totally cost effective, because the people that I mentor have a broad range of accessible funding. So this can be, again, this tool can be used for tiny people all the way up to, you know, I think in my riding program, the oldest person that's riding right now is 80. So this is a huge asset to someone. So I look forward to talking to any of you if you have interest.
Okay.
Yeah?
Thanks, Molly.
Thank you.
June, you want to give your pitch from there? And I'll work the...
Great.
Okay. Next on board is Dr. Judy Fisher.
I'm going to talk about something that's very mundane. And the only parallels that I can say is I once taught a course called Mundane Medicine. And I found out from that course that studying the mundane or producing the mundane is much greater challenge and probably will have more impact than looking at the exotic. So we're going to talk about something that's very mundane, that is personally an issue for me, and that I know that there are thousands of people or millions who suffer the same thing. I just had lunch with a professor, a retired professor of psychiatry, and he said, I need that. So you're talking about a huge market, and particularly now when there is this trend to stay in your own home. My contact information is 415, not 414. So next. But my problem is I can't reach most of the shelves. I'm short to begin with, and I'm shorter now than I've ever was since I think I was 8 years old. And I have empty shelves that I can't use, so that my counters are littered because I can only use the bottom shelves. And the same thing goes for my closets. And what I used to use are step stools, and I'll share with you what I have at home now. And I have this plastic one, and I have this other one that folds up. I will not get on either of these things because I have mobility problems, and I'm concerned about balance, and I don't want to fall because, that's the greatest killer in the elderly. Next slide. So I started to look online for senior things, elderly, and most of them come up on this, and I don't find this very useful. Again, I would not go, so it has a reasonable platform, but I'm going to get up and I'm going to take something down, and what am I going to hold on to? It doesn't make me feel, there's a lot of psychological components also involved in the design. Next thing. And I went to Lowe's to look at different step stools, and I saw what I really liked. That's what they were stocking. And I got excited about that because it had the features that I would like, except that I don't think my kitchen would take having this. But what I like the fact is that there are 2 arm rails. The steps are not that big, but they're, not that high, but they're wide, and that there's a platform. So this became the focus for me of what I want. It helped me decide what I really needed. Next. So I went back to the web and I found a couple of these, and it's 3 feet wide, 36 inches. Well, I can't span 36 inches. The step stool is very narrow. I don't even know who decided. It's not folding. Good thing about it has wheels that retract if you step on it steady, but it cost over $600. So that's out. And next. Now, you may, if somebody works on this project, you may have even a completely different idea. And I've taught long enough in product design to know that I don't want to stifle innovative ideas. But I have my ideas about what I would like. And if you have a better idea, that's great, so we can discuss that. Well, as I showed you, I would like to have handrails on both sides, and that they're not too far apart. For in terms of the steps, I'd like to have 2 steps so I can really reach up to the highest ones. And I don't have to wait for a 6-footer to come into the house to get my pans down. The steps shouldn't be too high. If you remember the first one I showed you, senior one, that's very high to get up for. And it's wide and deep enough to be there. And I'd like the idea of the wheels so I can push it around. Could it fold for storage? That would be great. And it has to look attractive. Aesthetics are a very important issue, and it has to be affordable. So these are my ideas. Somebody else may have another idea, and I'd be willing to listen.
Great, thanks, Jude. Eric is there. I told you to wait in the wings.
All right. This is my clicker for next slide.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Howdy, my name is Eric Nadine. I'm a game developer. I do a lot of mobile games and whatnot. I got into this from my uncle had a stroke a couple months back. And as I was watching him do his exercises, I was kind of surprised by the stuff he was doing. It seemed real Stone Age to me. Crumpling and uncrumpling a piece of paper, picking up toothpicks after you pour them on a table. It seemed like this was actions like this to get your mobility back. It's very difficult to monitor your progress. These actions are very unappealing. It's at the end of the day, you can't tell if it's helping you or not. And so I thought, I can make a game out of this stuff. Using motion capturing devices like the Kinect or the Leap Motion or the Intel PrimeSense camera, you can take these same actions, this smoothing stuff out, and you can make like flapping wings for Flappy Birds or something. You can use, instead of picking up toothpicks, you can be like shooting laser beams or something like that. Since not being able to keep up with your therapy, becoming frustrated because of these boring actions is a real problem, I thought if I could make an addictive game, something that kept people coming back to it. Oh, I'm sorry. An addictive game that people could keep coming back to it, you could really improve people's physical mobility. So what kind of characteristics would this game have? It needs some kind of motion sensing device. Like I said, the Kinect or the Leap Motion. I know David and myself have both worked with some of the Leap guys. Hi, Leap guys. So we can score you a couple leaps if they're so inclined. It should be something that's easy to use, something that is, you don't have to deal with a lot of installation, you don't have to configure your computer. Browser-based would be fantastic. It should be something that has different ranges of motion sensing. So somebody with limited mobility or somebody with medium mobility, it can be tailored to fit them. And of course you would want something that would be, people can see their progress, so like a dashboard of some kind. So what kind of people would this be able to help out? You would want somebody with limited mobility in their hand or arm, but somebody in theory that could have pretty good mobility in their shoulder. If, for instance, somebody is resting their arm on a table and they can't get their hand up enough to get it in front of a sensor, that could be a real problem, right? Although possibly that could be an interesting project, just to make an assistive device to get people to be able to be within range of a camera or a motion sensing device. Obviously able to follow instructions and be able to follow along with the game and things like that. And yeah, so I actually have a prototype that if you guys are interested, you can talk to me afterwards. I'd like to show you. It's called Visual Touch Therapy. I got in the laptop over here. Here's a couple other links to some similar projects that are out there. And my contact info is down there. And I'll be available after this meeting and hope to talk to some of you guys. Thanks a lot.
I'll start, so we'll keep moving forward. Hi, my name is Carol. Feel free to call me Carol, Dr. V, or Ms. V. I work at Stanford, so I'm requesting some confidentiality about my project. Okay. Slide 1. I have a back injury and tennis elbow. I knew this would preclude my lifting and transferring of a child. Slide 2. Our daughter B is now in our lives, and we are thrilled. Why to have a child is a very complicated question. After having a child, parents say to you, children are the best things in life, and I agree. Slide 3. Here's another pick of B, who is at 10 and a half months. There's a live version of B. Hi, B. Okay, slide 4. Before B was born, I looked into ways to lift and transfer her. I thought this crib would provide what I needed. There was no fine print. The mattress only moved 2 feet. Slide 5. I then worked to find other solutions. I'm an academic, so I'm skilled at research. I was shocked. The one active U.S. website for disabled parents had no resources online. Their one staff person was often too busy. She had no lifting and transferring suggestions. Slide 6. She advised that I try this rollator with a bouncy chair, which lacks proper infant neck support. B screamed and screamed. So I continued to search. I started contacting a lot of heavy lifting companies, among other things. Slide 7. Slide 8. I bought this dog grooming table. Slide 9. And came up with many other not quite effective solutions. Slide 10. Stanford Stanford professor Phyllis Gardner's medical technology students, she remembers the table, built this beautiful table for Bee and me, yeah, which I used every day until Bee could sit up on her own. I kept searching for ways to bring Bee close to me that weren't weight-bearing, as well as to lift and transfer her. Slide 11. Maybe she should, I'll wave up. I might start crying. Why don't you take her out? Oh, well, okay. Hey, Charlie. Okay, anyway. Inspired by this Barbara Hepworth sculpture. Hey, Charlie, just take her out. It's okay. I'll start weeping. And they've got to keep moving, so okay. I envisioned something I haven't yet been able to build, a chair that brings the mother and child close while maintaining eye contact. It would include a modified hammock used on airplanes. Slung back, slide 13, slung to the back of a now more sloping Panton chair with a wider base. Slide 14, here's my sketch. Slide 15, I also believe one or more lifts terminating with a scissor lift would enable lifting and transferring. Slide 16. Disabled parents' needs are beginning to be addressed. Congress has just had a hearing on disabled parenting, which I participated in. Organizations like Through the Looking Glass and the National Council for Independent Living are also working hard. Their main emphasis right now has to be on addressing the needs of preserving disabled parents' legal rights to have and keep children. Improved home equipment can't be their focus, which is why I need you. More than 30% of parents become disabled during parenting. They often experience pain and limitation from back injuries, carpal tunnel, de Quervain's, and RSA. Those who receive help may be more open to supporting others with disabilities. Slide 17. I imagine some PSA work on behalf of disabled parents would make an enormous difference. Slide 18. Next one. Okay. I'm delighted to be here and to know people are working on projects like this. I love this image from the website of the NCIL. Next one. And I love this sculpture.
Who wants to hold the mic?
Okay. It's too high. Oh, no. I can read. I have to get my glasses first. Sorry. I had a stroke about 15 years ago, and I am still disabled. I'm hemiplegic, meaning my working hand is now left hand only, and left side. Having disability means it's harder to catch up with new gadgets. That changes everyone. In my case, PDA, personal digital assistance. These days, my friends, as well as restaurants and hotels, airlines, assume that I can be reached instantly. But for me, it has two problems. Due to a stroke that left my right half of the body almost no feelings and non-functional, I sometimes find blood on my hand, right hand, and then I realize, oh, I must have injured sometime somewhere. So I always have to keep an eye on what my right hand is doing. Last several years, I kept dreaming having a PDA. In order to make my dream come true, I need several steps. First, it takes a long time to take a PDA out from my purse and set up with one hand. For example, actual size. Holding a or bracing a smartphone or tablet requires my left hand. At the same time, I need the left hand to operate. So if I hold the PDA with a shaky right hand and arm, it is hard to read the screen myself. It shakes. It's not stable. Besides, while performing some main operation with my left hand, I have to keep looking my right hand to see if I'm still holding the PDA. Not really. Quite often, the left hand needs to readjust the position of my right hand or fingers. That takes the main purpose of attention of the hand that's doing the work. So I need something that acts a reliable holder from mobile device, something that I can always have with me, perhaps wearing it or attaching it to the PDA. That's it.
Thank you. Sarah, come on up.
So I brought some visual aids because I did not send any slides. Sorry, can you all hear me? I'm pretty loud. Oh, you are? Oh, okay. No. Hi, I'm Sarah Frankel, and I'm the founder of a company in San Francisco that's working on assistive devices for older adults who want to stay independent in their homes for as long as possible. I have two projects I'm interested in staffing, if you like. One is something we're calling the Balance Buddy, which is a general all-purpose tool for balance and maneuverability in the home. Falls, as you probably know, are the single biggest risk factor for older people in their homes. 1 out of 3 people over 65 falls every year. Falls that result in fractures are expensive. The total cost of falls for older people is $30 billion a year. So obviously the best strategy here is to prevent falls in the first place. So the goal of the Balance Buddy is to provide a handy tool for maintaining balance and preventing falls in the home that doesn't in turn become a risk factor for falls in the home. The two major tools that are currently available are the cane, which is good for balance when you're walking. It can be good if you're staying in place and turning. If you're really maneuvering around small spaces, it can be useless. If you need your hands, unless you have one of these little handy-dandy things, it's also useless. And if you put it down and lean it up against something, it often falls over and you trip on it, causing a fall. So it's not a great solution. Excuse me. Walkers are slightly better, but they're large. They're bulky. It's very hard with some of the bigger, newer walkers to get up to your sink if you want to work on something. They're very hard to take on stairs. You can't move them without using your hands again, and both hands. And they're just generally a little bit awkward and oversized for this kind of purpose. So the question is what to do. We're envisioning the Balance Buddy as a kind of innovative walker cane hybrid stool mutant, if you like, some sort of hybrid, and something that can stabilize people when they're walking around the home, that can stand independently when it's not being used so it doesn't become a problem, and that could perhaps be used to sit on or lean on if you are standing in place or working at the sink or at the stove. And also it would be nice to have a little carrying capacity to help you bring things from one room to another. What is this object? we have no idea. So if any of you have any brilliant ideas, we would love to hear about them. The other project I wanted to talk about is a kitchen helper. And hold on one second. So when I started visiting my mother, who's 86, and a very good cook, when I lived in New York and watched her kind of age, I started to notice how much difficulty she was having lifting objects around her kitchen, moving heavy pots from the stove to the sink, lifting stacks of plates and putting them into cabinets, bringing things from the kitchen to the table. It's a really big problem. And if you happen to have had any kind of stroke experience and experienced partial paralysis, it's even worse. We are interested in trying to design a general purpose tool to help you with that, and to help with the general weakening of arm and shoulder strength and arthritis, movement limitations that result from old age. We are looking for something that can facilitate independent movement and tasks around the kitchen. I originally envisioned this as something that could roll around on counters, but obviously the need is broader than just your counters. It could help move pots from side to side and bring things from the refrigerator to the stove, from the stove to the table. It needs to be light, it needs to be sturdy, it needs to be easy to handle for somebody of limited strength and balance so it does not tip over. And it needs to be relatively simple and inexpensive to manufacture. And again, we would leave it to you to figure out what this is and how it works. Thank you very much.
So my name is Anila, and I'm a civil engineer and a PhD student at the Technical University of Denmark. The past 6 months I've spent here at Stanford as a visiting research scholar. And in my PhD I work on damage detection techniques. So here I'm showing a video of a 2-story building on a shaking table. So as you see, the building is shaking and almost collapsing. This was from a test at the shaking table facility at UCSD this summer. So I don't know what you're thinking when you see this video, but I, as a civil engineer, of course think poor building. But you may also be thinking, did everyone get out safe? And I would first look for an exit sign, and if on the second floor, I would take the stairs and get out quickly. But what do you do if you have a disability? You're visually impaired, or have a sit in a wheelchair. So the problem is that individuals with disabilities, they have increased risk to injuries during and after an emergency event due to their diminished mobility and sensory capabilities. So, for instance, the example with the stairs, how do you get down if you're in a wheelchair? Or how do you see that exit sign if you are blind? So just briefly, during an emergency event, what would we do? And one thing is first to warn the occupants in the buildings, and we already have ways of doing that in buildings with light and fire alarms, but those could of course also be improved. Next thing, when you have warned them, then these occupants need to evacuate the building. And think about the evacuation time for someone who has, who's mobility impaired, visually impaired, or has hearing impairments. So in civil engineering, we think about we measure this as the evacuation time, and for each specific building type, there is in the code specified how much should the evacuation time be, and that is exceeded for people with disabilities. So the project is to explore design concepts to facilitate the protection, detection, and evacuation of people with disabilities during and subsequent to an emergency event. And the project outcome then is, I mean, you are the one who's going to explore these design concepts, so you also shape the outcome. But one, for instance, could be to develop a warning system when indicators appropriate for people with who are visually impaired, or another detection and evacuation system for someone who's mobility impaired. So if you're interested in safe egress of people with disabilities, we can discuss later.
You better do it soon, because aren't you leaving tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to go now. Patty is next. Patty. Thank you. Okay, your slide starts after that.
Hi everyone, I'm Patty McTeague. I'm an assistive technologist and a rehab engineer. Recently I've been volunteering with the Bay Area Outdoor Recreation Program up in Berkeley. It's a great program. They do all sorts of different types of adaptive sports and athletics. Specifically, I've been helping with the adaptive cycling program. The cycling program up there is the largest in the country. They have hundreds of different types of cycles for various types of disabilities. And anyone is welcome to come, try out the cycles, ride them out on the Bay trails, and just continue using them there, or learn about what kind of cycle they want to purchase for their home. Specifically for this project, we're looking at these hand cycles. So these hand cycles, what they are is it's for someone maybe who has quadriplegia. They're not able to pedal with their legs. They're pedaling actually with their arms. So they're using their arms for the pedal stroke. They're just the same crank arms that you find on a bicycle. And what we're finding, a lot of people who have quadriplegia, if they're able to, they still have some strength in their upper extremities, and they're able to transfer themselves from maybe their bed to their chair. They're not able to independently transfer from their chair to these cycles, mostly because these cycles are pretty low. They sit only a couple inches off the ground. So there's quite a I'm not sure the order here that they're in, but
My slide and the rest are yours.
Yep, okay. So this gentleman here, he's sitting up in his chair, and you can see he's quite a bit higher than that hand cycle is. So for him to independently get in and out of that cycle, it's very difficult. So typically what happens, he's going the wrong way. Typically what happens is you need someone else to either transfer the person. At BORP we also have one of those very large swimming transfer devices to transfer in and out of a swimming pool. But often once they've become very adept at hand cycling at BORP, they want to be able to buy their own cycle and use these from their trails from home. California is great. There's a lot of bike trails everywhere that people can access. But what they're not able to do then is independently transfer themselves from their wheelchair to their bike, and then vice versa from the bike to the wheelchair. So that's something that we're kind of running into a wall against, being able to get people to independently do this from their homes, and we want to be able to help them with that. So what we want to be able to do is help them independently transfer. We can't make any modifications to the bike frame because that would kind of interfere with the integrity of the frame bicycle. We can add clamps onto the frame. We do that all the time. We're always modifying the bikes through clamps. The seat padding, there is a part under the seat that can be modified, but nothing that's attached to the frame. But again, we can add any clamps that we want to add to the frame. That's fine, just not modifying the frame directly. So that's it.
I should tell you the reason that this is crossed out is because students come up with their own solutions. So it's important for the presenter to talk about the problem but not talk about a solution, because it's up to the students to do that. So next on board is Greg.
Hello, glad to be here. I'm from RAFT, Resource Area for Teaching. We're in San Jose. Whoops.
Forward.
How about forward? Yeah. There we go. We have a 40,000 square foot warehouse that's full of oddball materials like this, which if you like Whitman's chocolates, you know what this is. It's underneath all those chocolates. We get thousands of different kinds of oddball materials like this, which we supply to teachers to use in science, math, art activities, and we provide them at very low cost. So to us, a CD is a lot more than a CD. It's a wheel, it's a top, it's a game piece, it could be anything. And we have literally thousands of these that we provide. So the activity that we would like to do with you is to go forward, is to give you a big bag, or have you come to our place, go through our giant warehouse and make your own big bag of unique and interesting materials that you think kids would be inspired by. And then your job is to create challenges for those kids, design challenges. And it could be as simple as kids using the stuff in this bag, design a game. Or using the stuff in this bag, design a toy. Or using the stuff in this bag, demonstrate a science principle. It sounds easy. It's not 100% easy, but it sounds easy. One thing it is, though, is fun. So just as an example, some of you have before you an activity that we developed called the Puff Rocket. It's a shampoo bottle and a couple of straws. If you have that, make sure that you put the big straw on top of the little straw, because what this is, maybe you can guess, it's a rocket launcher. Puff rocket, we call it. So when I count to 3, everybody that has one of these, just shoot it towards the middle of the room. Okay? 1, 2, 3. There we go. See? And now after... So I'm going to collect these. So now, if you want your rocket back, you have to talk to me after the presentation. We've done I think we've done 3 of these already. Some kids helped us design a toy for a game for autistic kids. We had an activity that kids could use while they were in bed, and so on. So we've had some very fun and interesting activities. I would love to work with you. Greg Brown, greg@raft.net.
Okay, and the point of this project is to do these toys that would be inclusive for kids with disabilities as well. Okay, next is Dan. Dan is a student in the class.
I can do clicker or microphone. All right. My name is Dan Bersinski. I'm a former Army officer and a current second-year MBA student at the business school. I'm a double amputee, as you can see, and my idea is for an improved set of hand controls. Go ahead. So that's a picture of my car. My car is permanently modified with hand controls. It's very simple. That problem's already been solved. There's a lot of different possible solutions for how fancy or how simple you can drive a car. The question that I ran into was, I got hit 5 years ago in Afghanistan, and well before ever I learned to walk, I was a full-time wheelchair user, and I think within this was probably a bad idea, but within the first month of recovery, I got in my car. I had my parents drive my car up to DC, and I was like, well, I need to drive and go around and do stuff. So I figured out how to drive a car. And the way I modeled it was I just reached out to some paralyzed friends and I said, how do you guys drive cars? And I got a small lightweight wheelchair and I got a set of hand controls. The hand controls that I first got were travel hand controls. And so still to this very day, even though my permanent car is permanently modified, I travel a ton internationally and locally. And when I travel, I rent a car and I just bring my own hand controls and I throw them on. It's a relatively simple process in the grand scheme of things, but it is not the simplest process. Go ahead. So that's a picture of my current setup. If any person with regular legs wanted to get in and drive my car, it'd be just fine, which is very convenient. Next. These are the hand controls that I use. You can see that they just clamp onto the bottom of the pedals and then they wrap around the steering column. So there's totally temporary placement on the car. Next. And then the problem is, this is me. I took these pictures yesterday as if I was putting my temporary hand controls on my car. Next. And here's what you can see. So like, it's actually not that big of a deal for me anymore. I walk around pretty decently and I can get down onto my knees and I can put these controls in my car just fine. But it's not always ideal when I travel to hot climates. It's a sweaty process. It's about a 10-minute process and I'm invariably doing it in parking lots and sometimes it's raining. So it takes a while. Go ahead. So that's my contact info and I want to show you, I actually brought the hand controls today. So the problem is that there are two sets of hand controls, as far as I can tell, that are commercially available. And the set that I used that was in this picture is in this bag, pretty simple to travel with. And then another intriguing idea are these hand controls, which as you can see, the theory is you just pull a trigger and they clamp quickly onto the pedals, and I really like that. It works pretty decently. But then you've got these two controls in your lap, which I don't think are the least bit safe. Not a recommended use, but so you're driving and I don't have a third arm to work the steering wheel, so I don't understand why these would be out there. What I think you can do is you can take the positive aspects of the hand controls that I like, mate them with the positive aspects of the hand controls that I don't like, and I think you'd have an even better setup. I know this isn't a class for actually launching a business or anything, but I'm an MBA student. This obviously has commercial viability. We'd get to that way down the road. But in the meantime, I need a better set of hand controls for, when I go traveling next month or something. Super simple idea. I just need some engineering people because I'm a political science guy. But looking forward to working with any of y'all that want to work with me. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
Hi, my name is Fernanda Costello, and I'd like you to see a video first, and then I'll do the closing on it. Thank you.
My name is Sugi, CEO and co-founder of WIP. Our mission is to change the negative perception of personal mobility device through design and technology. So we began with a wheelchair in the morning. He said, I gave up going to school, even just 2 blocks away. The reason because he was advised to be sent in a wheelchair, but that we created the device, so he could feel confident. WIP has 2 components. The first one is the design. It looks completely different from any other devices. The second one is the maneuverability. So we invented a special software. It composed 24 small rollers. It can make very tight handle legs for inside ears. And also, this is 4-wheel drive. It can cover the snow, pebble, any terrain in the dark. So we actually both small tight handle areas for inside ears and good ground availability for outside.
When I first saw Whirl, I was amazed by its design. I'd never seen anything like it before. And I could immediately tell that the way people look at me is different.
What I really like about riding wheels is it's a really enjoyable experience. It's fun, it's fast, and it's also super smooth at the same time.
Unlike other devices that are more cumbersome and larger, the wheel is compact, agile, and intuitive. Operation very simple.
In social settings, it's sort of become an extension of myself.
People come up not to ask me if I need help, but because they want to talk to me, and also to talk to our chair. Will allows me to function in my active lifestyle without having to. I just do it.
It looks great, doesn't it? It's in production, and it's going to be launching hopefully in mid of this year. I have been testing Wheel for the last 18 months, and I've been involved in project design, delivery, marketability, whatever they need me to do, and I have been test driving this to the ground. As you can see, the film and the video was taken during the daytime. Well, at night, the story changes. This particular device needs an illumination system that will be incorporated within the design feature in itself. So the challenge is the user to be able to see at night, to navigate, and also for the other drivers and pedestrians to see the user coming by. So if you're very interested in this, please talk to me afterwards, because it'll be a wonderful experience to work with. Thank you.
That device was at the Consumer Electronics Show, so that's where all the...
Cool.
Yep. Okay, Max is next.
All right, everybody. My name is Max Conserva, and first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for having me. My story starts about 25 years ago. I was hit by a semi-truck, which left me with a massively injured right leg. My injury is incredibly complex, and because of my age, incredibly unique. And unfortunately, there's no specific treatment for kind of the combination of things I have. So being dissatisfied with what's been on offer for the last 25 years, I actually decided about a year ago to stop working and address this full-time myself. And for the past year, it's been an amazing experience. I've made a ton of progress. I went from never hiking to hiking Machu Picchu. I went from never running to a couple weekends ago running a 10-mile race. I've opened so many doors and got so many different ideas for projects I haven't even been able to start on all the concepts I've come up with. So when I heard about this class, I jumped at the opportunity to potentially have some fresh eyes on some things I haven't even got started on yet. So that takes us to the first of two projects that I'm proposing here today. Now the first is what I like to call an aesthetic limb cover. Orthotics or prosthetics, the primary role is to restore physical function, standing, walking, etc. However, I find that very little attention is paid to restoring aesthetics, so restoring a leg to an anatomical appearance. It's always an afterthought. When I say aesthetics, I'm referring to the size of the leg, the shape of the leg, the pattern that we all know as a leg. So in my particular case, if you strip away the orthotics I wear, I'm left with a leg that's about half the size in girth, kind of crooked, missing part of my knee, a bunch of funky stuff. So you imagine if I take my orthotics off and just want to relax around the house and I'm not even moving, immediately you can identify that I'm basically crippled. I have a disability. So with this being said, the idea here is, up here I have a picture of a generic leg sleeve I pulled off the internet. My thought is, what if you could put on a leg sleeve where you can imagine for a second that the leg under this sleeve isn't whole. It's missing certain parts. What kind of design could you make to add what's been taken away, to fill out what's gone? And that brings me to my second project, which is much more mechanical in nature. And up here on the right, we have a typical full leg orthotic. And I think you guys have probably all seen in the last few decades, there's been a lot of advancement in prosthetics like running blades you see at the Olympics, to the point where these bionics are replacing muscle function. Relatively nothing like this exists in orthotics. And I think it's a huge area of development. In my case in particular, for example, I can flex my knee quite well, but extending my knee, straightening it out, is quite difficult. So I'm thinking, is there a device that we can make to assist in flexion? Perhaps store energy during flexion to extend. And I hope that just based on the merits of my projects alone, you don't want to just work with me. Specifically, this is what I do all the time. So if you guys are ready to work on this project, I basically wake up in the morning every day, I prototype ideas, and I go out and train and test them. So if you guys are willing to put in the time, I'll meet you every step of the way. Thank you, guys.
Here's Tony.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name's Tony. I work at Intel. I manage an engineering team in the Internet of Things group. Apparently lately there's a lot of things to connect up in the world. I saw a belt that automatically adjusts itself as if you can't do that yourself. So with a disability, maybe that's an awesome thing. But so my project's the Out of Control Wheelchair Project. And I'll give you a little bit of a story. So first, meet Pete. Pete's the quadriplegic in the chair there. Pete's an engineer at Intel. And behind him is the intern team that worked on a connected wheelchair project this summer. Pete has some amazing stories. Pete has had his chair go out of control, literally splash a puddle in Portland, hit something, cause it to go across the street into the lady's yard and throw him into the flower bed. His chair just went. With no input whatsoever. He's had crazy things happen where a camera strap will fall and hit his little hand control, which you probably can't see it, but there's a little Bud Dry Tap. That's the one he loves. Pulling the chair backwards and to the right, throwing him away so he can't do it, and he's had to sort of try and throw himself out of the chair before it goes off of a cliff or something. Pete's not alone. As part of the Connected Wheelchair Project, we did empathy interviews. We used the whole design thinking process, and I'm a graduate of the D-School Executive Boot Camp, and discovered that everybody has a story of their wheelchair being out of control. Whether it's just something crazy, unexpected that happened, or whether it's, they're in a posture where they can no longer control their chair because of some kind of acceleration going on. But everybody has that story. So through the Connected Wheelchair Project, we connected up the chair. It has compute elements, it's got sensors on it, it's talking to the cloud. That's great. But what we did not solve was this problem where how do you detect and call for help when your wheelchair is out of control, when you've been thrown out of your chair? Or as another case, every one of these folks has known somebody who's died who has a particular injury where if they get thrown forward, they cannot get back up. And when they're leaning forward like that, and they're alone, and a lot of these guys just want to live their life and go off, four-wheeling in their wheelchair the way they shouldn't do it, but they do. And if you're alone like that, you can't breathe very well. And they've had friends who've died. So your mission, if you choose to accept it, is twofold. First one is to reliably detect when the chair... Nope, yeah, that's my last one. Reliably detect when you're in an unsafe situation, whether you're thrown from your chair or in an unsafe posture. Get that to a compute element. And as part of the project, you get an Edison compute element here to get it to, and a starter kit of sensors and indicators to get you going. The second aspect of that, and I mean reliably meaning don't hit a bump and report that the person's out of the chair or call the police or something like that. That would be bad. But it's a very difficult problem. We didn't even try to address it. Second aspect is more the simple passive restraints. There's restraints to hold people. Deal with aesthetics, deal with the ability to, who wants these? Why do they not want these if they don't want to wear them? How do they get in the way? How easy are they to use? And just that whole passive constraint so that you can prevent out of control issues and also detect them when they happen. Thank you.
Roger is next.
Greetings. Sort of feel like a television show called Shark Tank. Or I could say my name is Roger Youngman and I'm in recovery, but we won't go there. I manage an adult day program for people with developmental disabilities here in Palo Alto called Community Connections. We work with adults with a variety of physical and cognitive challenges. Specifically, we're choosing a project for an art tool called a portable, foldable tray for wheelchairs. Something that can be universal, that has multiple components in it. And by the way, we have provided, for those of you that have the red calendar here, this is also includes this sheet in here that has a description of what we're talking about. And so if I may refer to our guests and presenters here, we have some wheelchairs, a couple of wheelchairs, and you notice there's different heights, there's different widths, so on. So what we're considering, or what I'd like to ask you to consider, is perhaps a multiple piece tray that can be quickly assembled. And since the participants that we're talking about, the clients that we're referring to that are in wheelchairs, when we go to various places, they're not able to get their chairs under tables, or tables are not provided. And so this is the main reason why we're looking for this type of tray. The trays that are available to individuals usually are very large and just not practical for transport. So if they have a portable tray that can be attached or affixed to their wheelchairs, they can use it obviously for art purposes. And if there are accessories provided, such as cups or other types of holders for the art tools, well, then it becomes very practical. And of course, this is very helpful for beyond art uses. So we're hopeful that you will put your energies, your minds to work and see how this can be developed. Something that perhaps will have various components that can adjust for height, depth, width, and so on. Something that can fit in perhaps a 4x4 box. And so put your energies to work. This would help a lot of people. Thank you.
Gary Burke, once again.
Once again. Hi, I'm Gary. I'm an assistant professor in orthopedics here, and I'm a prosthetist. I design artificial limbs. So, 3 prosthetic projects, 2 minutes to talk about them. We'll see what we can get through here. Oh, I got 4. Oh, that changes everything.
Maybe.
Okay. Prostheses, these are all connected to patients as well. So these are patient-based projects specific to them and others, of course. We need a quick disconnect system. It's hard to sit in prostheses sometimes, especially in cars and tighter spaces. So it would be wonderful to be able to disconnect the bottom half of the prosthesis without having to take the whole thing off. Kind of a simple idea, very difficult to execute. It needs to be lightweight, easy to use, and it needs to go back in the same place every time. So a little bit complex. Project 2. Prostheses are static devices. People are not. And therefore, when people change, the prosthesis doesn't fit quite as well as it did 5 minutes ago or an hour ago. And so we would like, and some people can't feel quite as well as others and don't know when things aren't fitting as well, and they're prone to breakdown and problems and issues, and therefore some type of sensor in this device to detect change in size or volume would be kind of a fun electromechanical project. And then the third project is more mechanical, dealing with a swim type of foot, because a foot that's angled at 90 degrees like a prosthetic foot is hard to swim in. And a gentleman that I work with would love to have a very lightweight type of device that will allow for that foot to go to a different angle so they can swim better. So 3 quick and dirty.
Excellent.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Gary.
Hey guys, does that work? Yeah.
That's fine for recording.
Oh, okay, good. No amplification. Got it. So, Kate and Anthony, we both work for Leap Motion.
Hi, yeah, I do social and content Leap Motion, and basically what we make is this little device. It's a USB-powered 3D motion controller, and it allows you to control your computer or your virtual reality environment with your hands in 3D space. Oh, okay. No slides?
That's it. Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought I sent you slides.
Okay,
Sorry.
so we have a couple of slides that break down the hardware of what it is. So 2 infrared cameras, 3 IR lights, and what you do is USB to connect to your computer or Mac or Windows. And what you would do with it is similar to what Eric was doing, which you can do recovery therapy. The biggest things that people use it for is in design, education, and medical. And some of the medical uses involve kind of therapy in kind of like motion control or utilizing any kind of strengthening of any kind. We have a couple of things where we used an accelerator project. Eric was in that accelerator project. We had people use it for lazy eye and things like that.
Yeah, we have, real-time translation for people who utilize ASL to communicate, rehabilitation, alternative learning solutions, sort of exploring different educational concepts with virtual reality. If you guys have access to Oculus or any other HMDs, that could be really something to explore. Also, I mean, similar to the fact that similar in the sense that like our technology sort of is used to augment your computing experience. Hearing a lot of these concepts and ideas, I feel like our technology could definitely augment a lot of these projects in interesting ways. And we have pretty robust developer portal full of resources. So definitely talk to us. We brought some devices with us if afterwards if you're interested in sort of see any connections between some of the other projects and our device.
And we're happy to answer questions, and we'll be here after. Thanks, guys.
And now, a truly magical person.
Nice intro. Hi. Oh, thank you. This one. Good evening. I'm Olenka Villarreal, and
Nope.
No. I find it incredible, and I don't need to tell you this, but isn't it incredible how many wonderful opportunities are still out there to address the needs of the many different disabilities out there? Some of these ideas I'm hearing tonight are just, it's amazing that they haven't been done. So it's a thrill to be here for me. So I'm talking to you today about a playground in Palo Alto called the Magical Bridge Playground. Has anybody heard of it yet? Okay, thank you. So I found myself in this situation probably 5 years ago. My younger daughter was born with some cognitive limitations as well as physical ones. And I live in Palo Alto, and I approached the city and I asked them how many of their parks are fully ADA compliant. And they told me all of them. And then, you've heard this, and then I said, well, where's your checklist? Because my daughter actually can't sit into any of these bucket seats that you have, and there's some things missing. So they said, well, we actually don't think any of them are really ADA compliant. So they said, but if you would like to build a playground like that, we can give you a little space, and you can raise the money and go do it. So I've never built a park before, but I thought this is a challenge I've just got to take on because there's too many people that need it. So 5 years ago, I did start on this mission to create really this Bay Area's fully ADA compliant park. But beyond that, as you know, ADA typically addresses much of the physical limitations, but much of our community that's living with a disability has the cognitive, the sensory, visual, autistic. So we decided if we're raising the money privately, we're just going to blow off the roof, and we're making it for everyone. So we are now excited to be at a place where we raised $4 million privately, and we broke ground in June of this summer. Designed it with all kinds of professionals and input, and had a lot of fun designing it. It has 7 different play zones, and we are really saying it is the nation's largest, most innovative playground, inclusive playground. So we are excited to be in front of you for the following reason. We are looking for a tactile, multi-faceted, multi-accessible map of the whole park. We would have it placed in the entry plaza zone. We work closely with the city of Palo Alto. For those of you interested in joining us on this quest, you could decide what size it would be. And it needs to be maybe a talking map. Maybe it's an opportunity for people that would be tactile, would be able to feel around the different zones of the park. So for a visitor that comes to the playground, despite their disability, they would be able to navigate the playground. And we are looking for such a map, and we'd love for it to be designed by your team. Oh, well,
yeah.
All right. Talk to me if you're interested. Thank you so much.
Okay.